Hey guys, this is what if Asta was betrayed. Some other people have done this, but none have done it like I do it. Okay, so in this version, it's right after Asta gets taken back to the Black Bull's hideout. They're told about the fact. This is right after they get. Actually, it's right after they have the whole "we need to train" and the whole Heart Kingdom thing happens. Now, Asta gets told by the entire thing when he gets back there, no. How do we know you're not part of the team of the devils? Because I'm going to say that they're suspicious of him. The Wizard King tries saying no, and then the regular king says yes, and then goes to attack Asta. Asta turning him upside down with one swing of his regular punch, and whoops his ass. Which, being that the king doesn't like to lose, ever, he's really mad about that and says off with his head, Asta saying, "Try me, I'll rip your entire kingdom apart." Which is just something Asta would say. And I'm gonna say someone had magic that was I'm gonna say someone had fire magic because it's really common. They throw a fireball at him. Asta doesn't have his swords on him or his grimoire because it got confiscated. So he does one punch, shattering the flames, burning him a little bit, but not much. And yes, this is actually how Asta looks in canon. Now, he's gonna look the exact same, but he's mad after that happened, and he took off the Black Bull's thing because Yami threw a dark cloak dimension slash at him, and he threw it at Yami and says, "I can't believe I trusted you, you old fool." And Vanessa says, "How dare you talk to the captain like that?" Asta saying, "What are you gonna do? Use your little cat on me? If you haven't guessed, I'm a lot stronger than you are." As he says to me, with his grimoire flying to his hand, as he said, "If you ever come at me again, all of you will die." Yami, taking this as a challenge, goes to swing at him. Asta grabbing his sword, slicing Yami's katana in half, blade shattering, which was enough for Yami to back down slightly, because he's still not planning on backing down. Being that he didn't have a weapon now, he thought he was going to be forced to use punches instead. So he goes to throw a punch at Asta. Asta puts his sword away and grabs Yami's fist and crushes it, breaking Yami's arm, walking away. If you're wondering how Asta was able to do this, adrenaline, anger, and demon strength. Those three are the only reason he was able to do it. Though he's not weak. I'm gonna say that demon that Asta killed, I'm gonna say he didn't kill him. The demon just went to a different grimoire. And when Asta sleeps, the demon goes to his grimoire. And the demon says, "You have my magic now. Don't waste it." And saying, "I can't use magic." He says, "There's a demon anti-magic spelling." It's just like, what? He said, "You have anti-magic at least. That'll work. Better yet, just use your key. Apparently you humans have that as a weapon as well." He says, "Okay." And he learns that ki can be done by meditating and training your body. He said, "So, finally something that my training helps." And he just starts working out and all that, and he does training. And then he's able to use the word magic, like the demon. And he's training in his mindscape one day, which he can go into at will to talk with the demons. And he looks both of them in the eye and says, "Is there a way I can come to the real world other than..." And they said, "Yeah, we can be in your shadow or follow you, but we can't really defect from you, which sucks." And he said, "Oh, really?" He said, word magic demon, who do you think is stronger? Me? You? Which one of us do you think is the strongest? Which one of you two are the stronger one?" And the word magic demon says, anti-magic can defeat my magic, to be honest. But without swords, he would be out of luck. So, I'd say we're about even. And you might be stronger than both of us. Because Asta's been training a lot with them, and he's able to fight them 2-on-1 using each other's magic on the one. So he's able to use anti-magic to defeat the word magic demon and able to use word magic to defeat the anti-magic demon. Although he rarely uses both at once unless he's training with them because it's just too strong. But his physical strength is beyond that of anyone else. Sally looks for him, but she can't find him, so she kind of gave up on that. But the other demon that was looking for, that was going to try taking over the world, Molascular or whatever. I don't really know the name. Anyway, yeah, that demon goes after Asta and says, goes after Asta with those 3 knights, and he's just like, y'all really think you 3 weaklings could step to me? And they said, we have 80%. And this one dude steps up saying, I have 80% of a stronger demon than yours power. He says, I have 2 demons. And he powered up and let them seep through him. So 2 demons are shown to be on his side. And he has 2 things to mark that they're demons. He has a 5-star grimoire. And a second thing shows about the word magic demon. A bracelet on his hand. It says words. Sorry about that, guys. So he's got the word magic demon showed and the anti-magic demon with 2 things. He doesn't have a bracelet. He still has a headband, only it just speaks of 2 demons. It's written in demon language that says 2 demons, anti and word. None shall defeat me. And then the stronger demons, and then these 3 who have the powers of the stronger demon go to attack Asta, and being that he's stronger than both of his demons combined, these guys are not even a threat. Since I think that the anti-magic demon and the word magic demon together could absolutely destroy this other demon at 100%. Not really sure about that, but yeah, being that he has these 2 on his side as well, so yeah, these 3 versus 3. The word magic demon and the anti-magic demon are just holding back the other 2, but the main dude is actually fighting Asta. Asta says, why don't we do this? All 3 of you versus me. 1v3. Demons won't interfere. And they said, alright. And he said, neither will your demon. And they said, okay. They put their demon powers up, and then they just go to their normal magic and go to attack Asta, and Asta's just like, nope. And he just fights them. And being that they aren't using their demon power, he's not using anti-magic or word magic, so they said, what about your magic? Can't you use it? And he says, ain't got none. And then punches one of them, sending them flying and knocking them out. But then the other 2 keep fighting, and he takes one of the other side one down, and then there's just the main guy. Asta pops his neck saying, you're last. He throws a magic spell at Asta just catching it with his bare hand and just breaking it with anger as he sends it flying. Just the little bit of magic he had. He doesn't have magic, but he did the magical spell. I'm gonna say you can mess with magic as if it's a normal element, so yeah. It's weird, but he controlled his ki around it and throws it back at him. He says, how can you do that without magic? He said, ki, as he just hit him once. And then, no more strength. That last dude was knocked out. Now Asta is standing victorious above all 3 of them. And I'm gonna say he went back to Hodge Village a couple times. But this time when he goes back to Hodge Village, right after this fight, he's completely fine, but he's a little scratched up. Nothing compared to what he's been doing training for years, so they think it's just his normal training. But when he gets there, something weird happens. You know how he lives in a church, how they're in a church and all that? Well, he's using demon powers, so they're wary of him, and they said, "Back away, demon." Lily's sister Lily said this under her breath, trying to hide it, but Asta seeing this angered him as he said, "What?" with roaring thunder behind him with anger, and he says, "Destroy," as he destroyed the entirety of Hodge Village with a single word of destroy. It shattered the village apart. But he didn't say kill, so the only thing that got messed up was the village. As he says, "Take that as a warning next time you think of saying something bad about me." And he walks away. Though enraged, he's still calm-ish. He goes into the forest, even to the demon skull, and starts working out. And the orphans looked at Asta and says, "Why did you do it? Why did you break the village?" Asta saying his temper got the best of him, but he wasn't going to let it happen again. Before he could say anything, he got hit with a water fist. Enraging him, he stood up with pure bloodlust in his eyes, looking at them all, saying, "You've chosen death." As she throws more attacks at him, and then he notices that there's something there. The kids back away as he just turns his head, saying, "Why do you attack?" And then he gets hit with gasoline, as he looks at them, saying, "Do you think that's enough to hurt me?" If you're wondering how there's any kind of thing like that, it's more of an oil for a lamp, but yes, it's still an oil that will burn, similar to gasoline. As he smells it, he says, "So that's what you're gonna do to me? Too bad." As he gets splashed with it in the face, he says, "You'll burn." As they say, "You'll burn, demon." As he got hit with the fireball from the chief, because I'm gonna say they just did that, and then all the Magic Knight captains show up. Even the king, the Magic King, because he's in this version kind of messed up too. So he says the simple words, "You will die." Sorry about that, guys. They say these simple words, "You will die," which is not enough to hurt Asta in the slightest. It doesn't even hurt his feelings. And everyone is there. All the Magic Knights got called back from missions to fight him. Not the vice captain of the Black Bulls, though. So, they're all there. They all send their magical attacks at Asta, even going as far as Licht being there. They asked for him to be there too. They send multiple attacks everywhere, and he just pulls his big sword out, and he just sends it flying backwards. He pulls the smaller sword out that can catch magic, and catches it, and sends one right back at them. Then he pulls his strongest sword out and goes into a demon form that makes all of them quake in fear. Which looks a little bit like this. Okay, here it is. He uses this giant attack with... Sorry about those. He uses giant attacks like these against all of the Magic Knights. But when they see all this darkness surrounding Asta, they're just like, "We messed up." And then you hear these simple words. "All you had to do was not piss me off. Then you'd live." As they turn their heads to say, "Whoa." As they said, "What?" And Yami goes to throw a Dark Cloak Dimension Slashes. You have slicing, everything happening, and the Demon Skull is where they're doing this entire battle at. Which, if you're wondering, how is it happening there? They think that fighting demon of this level should be a good thing of when they're fighting the bigger demon that's coming out, not knowing that Asta already wrecked that demon all the way. But not quite, since that demon was going to appear in 2 months. That's right, they had 6 months in canon, but they have 2 months now because of all the time that was spent. Well, they were already training, but Asta was sending things flying, and then you have the Kingdom of Hearts leader, the Queen, throwing water magic at Asta, just like. And this is already after the fire that was on him burned out. Since it wasn't a magical flame, it was just regular flame, so Asta was mad because he couldn't put it out with anti-magic. So he says these simple words: destruction, shattering the majority of the area around him that isn't already broken. Now they're in a giant chasm that's just a hole in the ground, bigger than the villages. It's bigger than 2 villages. Even Hodge was a lot smaller than this. Because Hodge and a couple other areas other than the demon is where they're being sent down, and the demon the demon body falls down to the ground with them all inside of it, and he's just like, oh no. And anyone with like a magic that can like protect them throws their magical stuff to save them. And the only couple of people who really wind up being able to do anything is like people with like transformation magic, because they were able to transform the ground into clouds. Though it wasn't very easy to do, and people with like the cotton and poison magic, the clouds they were making. So basically, everyone was making clouds and stuff like that to save themselves. Poison cloud, regular cloud, all that. But in the end, they weren't hurt at all. It was a big place to fall from, but they were all safe somehow. Austin's saying, you're too weak, as he sends a giant explosion of magic down at them. Not really a giant explosion of magic. What he does is hits them with a good old 1-2 punch. If you know what I mean by a good old 1-2 punch, is he says, demonic swords, anti-magic swords, as tons of blades start to fall down from the sky. Yami has a new katana, so he's not that out of shape in using swords, so he's still just going one after another, thinking he's gonna do it. Then anti-magic swords start falling after those, so it's just like all their magical attacks to barricade them wasn't enough. Which, when they realized that there was normal swords, now there's anti-magic swords, they just keep sending multiple attacks trying to block them out. Not enough, since there's just tons of magical blocking swords being sent at them. They noticed that the only thing that might help would be pressure. And then you have that dude, sends a wind gust at them. Well, it is magic. He's manipulating the regular wind as well, so yeah. He's in his strong form, which is nothing compared to Asta, since he just starts blowing the swords away, trying to make it where everyone's launching the most powerful attack to the center of it to blow them back, at least. Now, one thing they didn't account for is that Asta only sent a single wave. So it was only two waves that sent falling at them. Normal sword, then anti-magic sword. He was basically using an illusion where they were all throwing all their attacks up, which he uses word magic to say bury, as tons of dirt and gravel and stone starts falling down from above. And all this being magical somewhat, one dude had this whole barrier thing he had, sending it back at Asta. Didn't work out too well. He tries blocking, and it was, I think, Zoro or something? I don't really know. He started sending it back at them. Doesn't work in the slightest. Well, it works somewhat, since all of it went back up, but Asta just used a giant destruction, like a giant anti-magic thing, just to send it right back down, falling back on them. Which, being that he had used the only thing he had, so it was just like, oh no. And there's just like, someone help. And it's just like, a giant explosion of flame starts to surround the entire area. Tim turning his head because there was someone who wasn't there yet. Marileona. As she says, "Stop." As he looks at her saying, "Why should I?" And she throws an attack at him. He catches it and just shatters her hand, saying, "Too weak." As he's throwing her down into there as well. Now they have an idea, since this entire area would make sense to get destroyed, but what's happening? Never gonna blame Asta, but there was still the king and a couple other magical people who weren't there yet. And then you hear regroup as they hit him with as the Wizard King hits him with a magic to stop him. He said, "We know normal magic won't work on you. Either you help us or we'll end you. You have 2 months till the demon arrives." So he says, "Huh, I already took it down." And stupid lackeys. And they're like, "What?" Saying, "Well, it would have been an issue if he would have arrived at full strength, so I just whooped his lackeys. And then, in his weakened state, he'll be here in 2 months." As he just sends magic, as he's straight contained in this bubble for 24 hours. If you're wondering how he's contained in this bubble for 24 hours, he can't move his body. That's the only reason. So he's just stuck there, and he can somewhat move, but he can't use anything. So after about 2 hours, he's able to move his foot up to where he's crisscross, just sitting there for the whole time. And he says, "You know what happens when I get out of here?" And they're like, "Oh, but we do know what's going to happen." And he's surrounded in like a veil, so he can't see anything. But then the unexpected happens. The veil drops right before the magic is going to end, and everyone's charging up a giant, massive, just oversized magic attacks. It's just like, okay, this is what y'all want to do. As he pops his neck, saying, "You'll be ended." And they notice that it won't be sent at him. It'll all be sent in another direction. And this dude Zoro, he makes something that's just like sending all of it back towards another area, which basically they're going to be surrounding him into a pit, the same pit that he had made. They throw him down in the pit, and they all throw the magic powers up to the sky. When they all come down roaring back right on top of Asta, he's just like, "Okay." And then the magic is stopped right before it hits him. Not all the magic, just the Wizard King's magic, while all the others that jump on hit him. And you just hear, "Finally, it's done," as Yami says, "No, he's not even close to being defeated." Throwing magical slices after magical slices. And they think, "Julius, what if you hit him with a barrier inside of a barrier inside of a barrier?" And it's just like, that could work. And then, whenever he gets back up, mad, he gets barrier, and he's just like, "You." Being very enraged, which his grimoire is not right next to him, so it's actually outside the bubble, so they have the grimoire and all the magic swords in it. And they actually managed to get something on his mouth to make him where he can't say any of the word magic or anything. So it's just like, okay. He's just thinking, "Oh, wait until I get out." They hit him with 3 of them. One to stop him, another to stop him, and another to stop him. Now, they're all going to last about 24 hours after another one gives up. Julius is able to just fall asleep after that because he's tired from using so much of his magic. Because he was holding that for 24 hours and then sends more of them down. And this is the weakened state of Julius, so yes, he's pretty exhausted. And now that they think that Asta is going to be contained for a long time, there's a giant magical barrier being surrounded by him. And everyone's basically out of magic, but they know it'll only take about an hour for all the magic to be put back to where they're full again, so once they're all full of magic again, they take repetitive barriers on top of it. And they ask, "You know he won't even be able to pull through the first one, why are we putting so many?" They said, "Precautionary. Now, while we will be alerted if anything happens to the first one, we're making 20 of them surrounding him. He says he's thinking, that won't work. And after the final day of them putting barriers up there, they've been doing it for the uppermost of a month. They get back to training, and they're using Asta as like a guinea pig for their training experiments and everything. And they wind up making a clone of Asta using Sally's weird magic stuff. Sorry about that. They made a clone of Asta using Sally's magic and everyone else's magic and all that. And they basically made a perfect clone of Asta that can wield his swords. And they think, there's one little difference with the clone of Asta. It doesn't talk back. It will just listen and do whatever the magic knights say. At the cost of it obeying them, they also had to cut its power in half. And they made 3 of these clones. They think, well, they'll have as strong as Asta, that should be more than enough. And they're saying, well, there's all of us here too. And they're saying they think they won't need him anymore, but they just keep harvesting his blood in his body. So when they make repetitive clones of him, now they're making clones of the clones to where there's hundreds of Astas, half as strong as the original, all doing the one purpose: protect the Clover Kingdom. And when one dies, it doesn't matter to them, being that they can just make more. And Nero is helping with this magic, even though she knows it's wrong to do it, even though she doesn't care. Asta knowing that either he'll be killed by the time he'll die by starvation or something when he gets out, being that the entire world is against him now. Enraged that this keeps happening, he goes into his mindscape, and they say, so, we're connected still, even though we're miles apart. Good to know. It also says, hey, all of them are making these clones half as strong as me. And they're making clones of those clones with the same strength as the previous clones that are half as strong as me. What are we gonna do? And they said, and they've all got the same magic abilities, and copy magic is being used every time. And then Asta says, so it looks like I'm gonna be overran by the time I get out. And they said, well, no, Julius is out of magic in 2 hours, and he can't gain any back while keeping you contained. And no one just copying his magic would work. So they think, maybe. As Asta is just like saying, they'll be sending all those wannabes at me every time I get out, won't they? The demon's saying that yes, since they've heard their plans, being that they were stuck inside the grimoire right next to them, being that they were saying about how the grimoire was dangerous, they need to either destroy it or copy it, where there was multiple of them at half the strength, and then destroy the original for all the clones. And they've been making clones of these demons too. So they're cloning all of this and thinking, this will be more than easy. And the queen, they found out that Asta's anti-magic could save the queen if she was cut by it, but there's a cost. It's very dangerous for anyone without the proper control of it to happen. But they notice that all of them are holding up the sword perfectly, so there's 7 of them holding the blade to slightly slice the magic. They're able to cure her so she doesn't have the curse. And Asta, being enraged that his ideas have been being put to use, but against himself. So he just thinks, looks like I gotta do it. Enraged, he just pulls back his arms, barely being able to move, being that there's 2 barriers surrounding him. And while they know Julius is going to be out of using his magic for a while, they think that all these copies of Asta, maybe if they lose 3 or 4, but they'll be able to stop Asta. They are very, very wrong. Because Asta's been training in the Mindscape, which is like 2 years for every 2 seconds. He's been doing this for hours, so he's been there for hundreds of years. And when he wakes up, he is pissed. Sorry about that, guys. So when they do that, he is pissed. No one is going to be able to stop Asta from what he's going to do. And all the clones they've made of Asta, they try getting another sample of the original. They do, and they wind up making another half as strong Asta, which turns out to be stronger than all the other clones. And being that's half as strong as the current Asta, they think he's getting stronger as he's in there. We have to take him out instantly. They take him out after making a dozen more of those clones, and throwing hundreds of them at him. They throw all their clones, which by this point is millions. And he's surrounded by clones with all this exact same sword and everything. And all the Magic Knights are saying, we don't know which one is which. And they said, don't worry, we'll know. And Oz has a great idea. He slices singularly, and he's able to and for one moment he says blinding light. And when this happens, before all these copies are using absolute darkness trying to cancel out the light, Asta is able to knock one out, killing it, but taking the clothes it was wearing. Because yes, they're all copies of the clothes as well, so they're all actually wearing some attire that is noble. But he's able to put the bad attire, his old attire on another one, as he destroyed the clothes that it was wearing, so there's no extra clothes being thrown around. As Asta noticing that, as all the ones are thinking, that's him, as he's thinking allies, but when he's getting hit, he has one thing, protects the Clover Kingdom. So they're all attacking each other. This one is attacking all of them, and it was actually the strongest one so far. So they thought it was going to be the main one to go against Asta, but no, it's going to be helping Asta. With him being able to contact them all, saying, I know you're like clones of me. Destroy. I want you to fake it so I can be a part. And when, in the end, there's 2 left. The second strongest and Asta. The second strongest is all bloody and beaten, trying to look like Asta as much as it can, as Asta just slices it once with his thing. I won. As the clone collapses, and they just think they think they took all the clones they had, but they finally defeated Asta. As Asta's smirking slightly in his sleep. They all think they killed him with all the clones they sent at him because the one that was wearing his clothes died. But it was actually called Perfect Copy that he did, which was another version of himself, exactly the same, but slightly weaker. And he was just fighting with normal wings that all the others were doing, trying to fake being one of them for a solid 20 minutes, and then in the end he just took down the final one. And then you hear stop as he turns his head, saying, we know we know you're not one of the copies. We have tabs on every copy made. You're not fooling us. As he just smirks with his devilish grin, saying, oh, so y'all really could see through that, as he just sends a giant explosion, destroying the entirety of the entire Clover Kingdom, cracking the entire planet. The Heart Kingdom, the Diamond Kingdom, and Spade Kingdom all got hit as well. And in the end, there was only 2 things left to do. End the planet, and die, or go to the demon realm when he does it. So he throws and he finds the last demon and connects it with himself. So he has the power of these 3 monstrous demons, the strongest of which not being the anti-magic demon. So he knows that which one of them is strongest, and he's trained where he's stronger than them all at 100% altogether. So they're all obeying him inside of his grimoire, which is still just a 5-leaf clover, saying enough as he walks away. as a black gate appears, as he destroys the entirety of the world, but not the demon realm. As he walks into the demon gate, disappearing into the night, disappearing as the world explodes. All the demons saying, "So you're finally back, Prince Asta." And he says, "Oh, so that's why this place always seemed good to come." They said, "Oh, so y'all were watching me this whole time?" They said, "Yes." And he says, "Why didn't you help me when I was being cloned? Or every time I almost died?" And they said, "They did." He says, "What?" "They let loose a little bit more of your ability." He says, "So I was attacked for years because y'all were holding me back?" And they said, "Yes. But now that you're let loose, would you mind releasing the 3 demons you've tamed?" As he says, "No. All the demons that were on the world of the living are tamed as well." And they said, "Oh, so you knew about those?" He says, there were thousands of them out there, and there's millions of them underground in the demon world. But there's still opponents he needs to stop." And they said, "Yes, while you will be king, the gods will be very angry that you destroyed their little project, and even angrier that you changed it so much." As he says, "I don't care what the gods feel." And he says, "But I will take all the demons together against the gods." As he straight up just gathers all of the demons together, absorbing them all into his grimoire. By this point, it's all pure black. There's slight hints of every color in it. If you're wondering, isn't black just every color? No. It is, but there's slight color differences, as in red, purple, all of the colors slightly scratched into it. While Asta says a rainbow. Rainbow of death. And they're all confused because he's using all their magic, demon powers, and everything of every demon. And if any of the demon, and being that there's only one demon left, the weakest demon, a demon that doesn't want to be absorbed, as Asta's saying, "I know you don't want to, and I know you think that the world will be instantly destroyed once all the gods, all the demons are gone, and once I am the last one left, but don't worry, you don't have to be absorbed." And this is the last female demon. I don't have a name for it, but it and Asta actually got along very well and chose something. They'd be destroying the gods and everything else. But the gods had the ability to make worlds. So he thought he could absorb gods, as he would wind up absorbing all the gods, demons, humans, which they thought all the humans were destroyed, but no, just the human realm. All of them, the elves, everything, every race and being was absorbed by Asta, except for one female from every race, as Asta now having the power of infinity compared to everyone else. He makes one of each race. Not quite one of each race. What he does is he spreads them out, making dozens upon dozens upon dozens of the exact same beings. Not dozens of the exact same beings, but makes the same beings. He has elves, elf demon. He has elf demons. He has human demons. He has basically everything with the demon and god part in them. And the world, as he created the new world, that wasn't surrounded by hatred or anything. It is just calmness. As Asta dies at the age of 2,000. Being that his time was increased because of the gods and demons. One goddess and one demon were left. And then 9 months later, there's a god born with true strength, a demon born with true strength, a human born with true strength. Every race has one born at that point with true strength. As Asta, right before he dies, he sees them all saying goodbye, as his body is overtaken by the demon powers and says, "End me," as they all let their magic out and wind up chopping his head off. As his head rolls to the floor, he's smirking. The final thing he says was, "Goodbye." As he dies, his entire being is demolished. He finds the afterlife, which is after all the gods and everything. Everything goes to there afterwards. And he notices that every being is there that he absorbed. As he says these simple words, "So, do you hate me?" All these humans said no. As he rules the afterlife, forever being the one to live. Though he has no powers other than his above average physical strength and speed, the entirety of the Black Clover multiverse was changed because of this one boy. And that is the end of What If Asta Was Betrayed.